I am here to announce publicly that Bank of Oklahoma will give $30,000 in college scholarships to Oklahoma City public school seniors. 6 students will each be awarded $5,000 to cover their first year of college expenses and kickstart their ability to continue their education. Students may apply through the Oklahoma City Community Foundation beginning on October 1st, and the scholarships will be awarded next spring. Bank of Oklahoma's Achieve Your Goals scholarships are not targeting the straight-A students, but those that are well-rounded and have consistently shown and performed scholastically with the hope of continuing their education endeavors. Most importantly, we want students that have the drive to change their future and hopefully stay in Oklahoma City and become role models for future generations. Bank of Oklahoma wants to challenge other companies to do the same, to step up and help shape the future of our inner city students. Superintendent Laura, we are behind you 100%. And through your leadership, we look forward to a great future with our kids. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, John, and thank you, Bank of Oklahoma. What a tremendous way to get this luncheon started. Your commitment to our students, to the future of Oklahoma City is very evidenced. So we have a packed program today, and as I mentioned, a couple of really exciting and informative speakers for you. Today we'll be here for 2 people, both of whom are dedicated to improving the landscape of education nationwide and right here in Oklahoma. To introduce our first speaker, it is my pleasure to welcome Justin Ellis, Vice Chair for the Board of Oklahoma City Public Schools, who will introduce our first speaker. Justin?
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you for the Chamber for putting this wonderful luncheon together. I'll start by saying that being an Oklahoma City superintendent today is like running for the United States president. The media reports about the negative, but Aurora and the Oklahoma City Public Schools staff are doing amazing things, and they are far from negative. Superintendent Aurora Laura took over Oklahoma City's largest school district at a time when we were trying to figure out how to cut $30 million from our budget due to critical financial issues facing the district. Superintendent Laura had to lead and make major changes to staffing and programs. A lot of people would have run from that, but Aurora, she dug in. She made the tough decisions. Some are calling her the people's superintendent because she makes it a point to get out into our schools and communities and listen. The focus is on the kids with Superintendent Laura, on how we can improve the education experience for our students. She's in the process of creating a task force to gain community input to help understand underperforming schools. She's creative. She's creating communities for students, committees for students, parents, teachers, and principals, so she can listen to those who are on the front lines and use the information to make our schools better. We know that there will be even more difficult decisions to be made, and I am confident that we have the right person to get us through them. Even though she's University of Texas alum, she's been committed and dedicated to Oklahoma City, where she has bought a new home. The accolades surrounding her career accomplishments in urban schools are impressive. Aurora Laura is responsible for leading and overseeing Oklahoma City's public schools' 46,000 students and 5,000 staff members with over 89 buildings. Ms. Laura joined Oklahoma City Public Schools in 2014 and responsible for developing, implementing, supervising district-wide curriculum working with human resources to train and evaluate the staff, and monitoring student achievement and school effectiveness. Prior to this, Laura served as Assistant Superintendent for Dallas Independent School District, Executive Director for PK through 12 schools for the Seattle Public School, and was a middle high school principal in Portland Public Schools. In 2000, she was a Teach for America Corps member. Laura taught fourth grade at Ryan Elementary School in Houston, Texas. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin and a master's degree in education policy management at Harvard University. We are fortunate to have her as the superintendent of Oklahoma City Public Schools. It is my honor, it is my privilege to welcome you, Superintendent Aurora Laura.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored and happy to be standing before you today as the new superintendent of Oklahoma City Public Schools. And today I'm going to share with you some of the great work that's going on in our school district and also our plans for the next 5 years. But before I get started, I want to thank the members of our Board of Education who are with us this morning. In fact, if they can please stand, I would like everyone to see them. These people work tirelessly for our school district. Looks like we've got a couple here. We've got Board Chair Lynn Harden, Vice Chair representing District 2, Justin Ellis. Representing District 1, we have Bob Hammock. District 3, we have Carrie Jacobs. District 4 is Paula Lewis. District 5 is Ruth Veals. District 6 is Gloria Torres. And District 7 is Ron Milliken. I also want to thank Roy Williams, Drew Dugan, and Teresa Rose Crook for your partnership as we work together to improve our schools and for having me here today to be able to share with people our vision for the Oklahoma schools. Also want to take a moment to thank the district leadership team. If we have any members of the district leadership team here today, could you all please stand? I think there's just a couple. But these are some amazing, hardworking employees. And when we had to cut $30 million from our budget, I had to eliminate 30% of the senior leadership team at Oklahoma City Public Schools. And the people who are still here had to take over all the work from the 3 members that we lost. And so these people not only were working night and day before the budget, but now are working even harder with more duties and are spread so thin just to keep our schools afloat. And so I owe them a debt of gratitude. And finally, one other great partner in this work has been Mary Malone with the Public Schools and the Oklahoma City Public Schools Foundation. They have just been tremendous partners as we've had to think through how to cut $30 million from our budget and helping to fundraise for us to help us plug those holes. So I just want to thank all of them today for their work and support of the public schools. So some of you might have heard me speak before and probably know a little bit about my story, but I want to just share one piece of my background that I think explains why this work is so important to me. The reason I decided to go into public education actually stems back to my high school experience. I went to high school at a low-income school on the border to Mexico in El Paso, Texas. My high school was predominantly free and reduced lunch. It was 90% Hispanic. I myself am the daughter of an immigrant from Mexico. And I had done great all through school and made straight A's and everything, did everything my teachers had told me. So I thought when I got to college, it would be a breeze. I graduated valedictorian of a high school of 2,500, had my choice of full rides to several state universities, which is why I chose the University of Texas. And when I got to college, I was in for the biggest shock of my life. I got into this specialized honors program at UT and had a space in the honors dorm and was in my first college honors English class. And I wrote my first essay for college and turned it in. I'd always been told I was a great writer, had straight A's all through school. I figured this paper was going to come back with like 100% and A+ and smiley faces. And instead, I got the shock of my life when our professors passed back our papers. And he was passing them out to each of the students in the class, and I was the last one that he gave a paper to. And he stopped when he was passing them back. And he looked at me, and instead of handing me my paper, he said, "This is the worst writing I've ever seen. Who taught you how to write like this?" And he tore up my paper and threw it down onto the table. And I was mortified. I had just graduated valedictorian, and I had done everything my teachers taught me in our standardized test remediation classes that were mandatory for all the kids at my El Paso high school. It was a 5-paragraph essay that they teach you how to write to pass the state exams. It started with the introduction, then it had reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, and then the conclusion. And that's exactly what I did, because that's how I learned how to write in high school. And in that moment, I didn't know what to do. I tried desperately not to cry in front of all my classmates. And I went back and I called my mom that night, and I said, I don't think I can do this. I'm so humiliated. I don't want to go back to that English class. And the truth is, I was struggling in science. I was pre-med my first year, and really, really struggled in basic chemistry and biology, because I realized I was coming in without any of the background knowledge that all these other kids seemed to have. And that's when I realized what a disservice my high school had done by not preparing me for success after graduation. It's not enough to get straight A's and 100% and to graduate valedictorian if they haven't actually prepared you with the rigor to go on to be successful with where you're going next. And so my story is a happy ending because I turned my situation around. My mom wouldn't let me drop out and go back to El Paso, so I went to the Writing Center, I got tutoring, and it took me an extra year, but I graduated from undergrad 5 years later. And you do know the happy part of this story is that later I used this experience and was able to get into Harvard, so obviously I learned some lessons about writing. But the thing is, when I was a senior and graduating from college, it really struck me that very few people from my high school graduating class were graduating with a college degree, because many of them who had left El Paso faced similar challenges and dropped out and went back. And I felt so angry that a system can do so little to prepare kids from low-income backgrounds to be successful in their futures. And I felt like I would have had a very different experience had I had a different high school, if I'd gone in a different zip code. And so many of the kids at my school would have had different experiences too. So I had this kind of anger building inside me, and that's why I decided I wanted to join Teach for America. And that's a program that takes college graduates and recruits them to go teach for 2 years in low-income schools. And I got assigned to teach 4th grade in inner city Houston, and went on and had this really amazing experience that changed my life, because I was able to show that when teachers hold high expectations for kids and put high levels of support in place, they absolutely will rise to the level of expectation and do amazing, amazing things. And it was my 2 years of teaching that made me realize to me, is not a 2-year commitment. This is a lifelong commitment that I have to helping support kids in low-income communities. And that's what started my journey and led me here today to becoming superintendent. So that's a little bit about me. I do want to share with you some of the great things going on in our district right now, because it has been a challenging year for us with the budget and changing superintendents, but we've got a lot to be proud of. So one, this past year, we administered more advanced placement exams in 2016, almost 500 more. It's a 25% increase in the number of kids taking AP tests, which means more kids in our district are taking advantage of academically rigorous courses. We also had 31 students this year qualify as Oklahoma Academic Scholars. To get this qualification, kids have to have a minimum of a 3.7 GPA or be in the top 10% of their high school class. They have to complete all requirements for a high school diploma and receive at least a 27 on the ACT or a 1220 combined on the SAT. And so even more of our students are being prepared, being successful. We'd like to see this number, of course, go higher, but we definitely feel this is a good sign that we're heading in the right direction. We got selected to pilot a pretty innovative new model of personalized learning. And this is actually a model that is out on the West Coast, and Facebook got behind it to sponsor full training for teams from 3 of our schools, Adams, Scheidler, and Jackson Elementary, where we're training 6th graders in a personalized learning model using technology, and we think this is going to change the face of public education. I won't get into all the details here, but this is piloted in 3 places. Tulsa is also piloting this, and we want to take this much broader if we start to see success, but we're really excited about this, and we'll look forward to showcasing that later on this year. We've also, you've probably heard a lot about discipline in our district. We did have fewer suspensions this year. 500 fewer students were suspended, and in the grand scheme of things, we had 5,000 fewer school days missed due to suspensions last year. So we're trying new strategies and doing our best to keep kids in school so we can keep them focused on learning. 13 years of clean financial audits that we're really proud of. And also, we opened school this year with our lowest number of vacancies. We currently have 37 vacancies in the district, which, if you know about our experience in the past, there have been years where we've opened with 150 vacancies. Last year, it was probably close to 100. So to be down to 37 is a really, really great accomplishment, because that means more teachers, more kids are getting access to a full-time teacher for their classroom. Although I will not be happy until we get this number to 0, which hopefully will be next year if we can make some changes to make it easier to attract teachers to Oklahoma. And the last thing is I want to share just a quick story about some of the amazing students that we have in Oklahoma City. And this is a story about one of our students last year that really touched my heart, and I want you to see the types of students that we are working with in our district.
We're here at U.S. Grant High School today to deliver the first admissions packet for the class of 2020.
Gregoria is the first student to be admitted this year at the University of Oklahoma, and we are ecstatic that she comes from U.S. Grant High School.
For years, U.S. Grant was known as a dropout factory, a very low-performing school. Over the last several years, we've gone through a tremendous transformation to the point where we are now just 1 point away from being an A school. And Gregoria is a shining example of that type of performance.
She comes from a large family. She's not a typical kid or a typical teenager.
My parents have taught me always to keep striving for what you want to become, because when they came from Mexico, they had to go through a lot of things just to get me to where I am today. And so it's basically like paying them back, showing them that I'm a success.
Here in the United States, there are more opportunities. Where we lived in Mexico, public school only goes through the 6th grade. Here, she can do anything, and we are so proud of her, and we just want to support her in all that she does.
Goya hasn't told anybody that she's even applied.
I didn't tell many people at all. I would hate to disappoint my parents. There's the number one reason. And then it'd be to disappoint myself from how hard I've worked. To just go and like fail and be like, no, you can't do it.
OU is a big deal for her, and I think for her family.
The day before the application came out, I was just staring at the countdown clock the whole time, just waiting for it. And the last second, that's when I started to apply. The second it came out. OU is the only application I sent in.
Today is a great day to be a senior at the U.S. Grant High School.
First, when they announced that OU was there, I was like, okay, what are they going to do? Try to get students to apply? I thought it was just another one of those. And I was like, why are all these cameras here? And then they said my name, and it was just like, it was overwhelming. It was just like those moments where you think it's like surreal, like it couldn't be happening, like I'm dreaming, I'm about to wake up, but no, it's all real. It was just like amazing because everyone was trying to get pictures and interviews, and like my mom's like, come take a picture, and like my friends are like, Goya, come here, come take a picture with me. And then they just like all surround me. It's amazing. Like I'm trying to hold it together, and they're like expressing all the emotions I wanted to express.
We were so excited, I thought I was going to fall. My arms and legs were shaking. I felt like I was the one getting accepted. I was so happy and I felt so proud to have so many people supporting us, to have so many people supporting her. It's a big step for her, a very big step. And I just want to say to all of the parents out there that sometimes our salary isn't enough to pay for our kids to go to college. But if we put all of our support into our children and their studies, they're going to find a way to go to college.
And so for me, paying college would be difficult, right? And because I have younger siblings too that my parents have to take care of, so it's kind of like all on me.
So we've actually got one more letter for you to open up. If you want to take a look at it, it's your estimated financial package.
Yeah? Really? Really?
She just got a full ride.
Thank you. Thank you. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, it would be hard to do it, but now it's like I'm unstoppable.
I'm going to say, so I was there at that ceremony where she found out she had been accepted and her family was there, and she found out she got a full ride to college. And it was one of the most moving experiences of my life, just to see that and to witness the joy and to see the pride in the eyes of her mom and dad. And to know, this is why this work is so important for us in Oklahoma City schools. And I'm just going to say, even as a Texas Longhorn, I was cheering for OU by the end and crying, and I did buy an OU shirt, but don't tell anyone from Texas. So those are the great things that are happening. But then our budget crisis hit, and as many of you know, it was my first month on the job where suddenly I'm stepping in as superintendent, and I'm forced to immediately cut $30 million from our budget. And there is no easy way to do that when you're already one of the lowest funded states in the nation. And so this forced me to have to make really difficult decisions right from day one on the job. We had to cut 208 teaching positions. We laid off 100 people from central office, including 30% of senior leadership. We cut 100 people from operations, and you're hearing about our operations challenges right now when you hear these air conditioner stories and things. We have a skeleton crew. We're working as fast as we can, but it is very difficult to run 90 schools and get everything up and running when you've had to make such devastating and deep cuts. We also had to cancel our textbook purchases this year, slash school budgets so they can't even buy the supplies that they used to have. We postponed maintenance projects, canceled athletic uniform orders. The list just goes on and on. This is a really, really difficult time to be an educator in the state of Oklahoma. But we're not letting that stop us from our mission of providing a world-class education to the kids of Oklahoma. Starting 2 years ago, we gathered more than 150 teachers and school leaders, parents, community members, business leaders together to identify what our goals were for the next 5 years in Oklahoma City. And so even though we've had a change in superintendents, even though we've had a budget crisis, our commitment to the goals that I'm about to share with you has been unwavering, and we are about to double down and make sure that kids are improving and getting access to a great education in Oklahoma by focusing on these 7 areas that were set by that committee 2 years ago. And so I'm going to start just briefly by going through what the big 7 areas are that we're working on in Oklahoma City and some ways that we are implementing some strategies to try and get to these goals. Number 1 is we want to make sure that every student will meet literacy and numeracy readiness criteria for a successful transition from pre-K to second, because if we do a great job with educating our kids early, then they're not going to end up having reading gaps by the time they get to 3rd grade. So one of the ways that we're doing this is by putting leveled book rooms in place. And if you see in the picture, this is what our leveled book rooms look like. What we've got there is we've put at every school sets of materials that are grouped by letters. So from level A all the way up to level Z. And we're training teachers how to teach literacy, not by teaching one story to the full class, but by grouping kids in the actual area level reading that they're at so that they're maximizing their instructional time in the classroom. And so they pull the different boxes to get the materials for the different groups that they run. It's just a smarter way to teach reading, and so we've invested in that this year. We also just want to thank many of our early childhood partners who are working with us to get to these goals around early literacy and numeracy. Inasmuch has invested so much to help us get pre-K for all kids, which I'm going to say that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Oklahoma. This is something that every urban district dreams about having, and this is just such an amazing gift to have pre-K for all children in this city. So I want to thank them for helping us to get that off the ground. They also run a really great Educare Center, which is right next door to Cesar Chavez Elementary. Smart Start, which is helping to train our families in how to work with their kids at home, especially with their very, very young babies. And it's giving them educational toys and tools so that kids are coming to us more prepared. Our second goal is around maximizing instructional time. We want every student to participate in at least 95% of the instructional days in the year. And we're working on this two different ways. One is that we are working on reducing our number of suspensions. You've heard a lot about that over time. We have in the past invested in positive behavior interventions and support, which is a training program to teach kind of school-wide expectations and rules. But we've also invested an additional $250,000 this year into more supports for teachers in coaching, classroom management training, getting them support with kids that are acting out that they're just not sure what to do with. So we're hoping that this reduces our number of suspensions that we have. We also have partnered with the city police department, and they work with us to help us, for kids who are chronically truant, to help us contact families, talk about the importance of schools so we can get them back to school and make sure that they are taking full advantage of the opportunities that we have for them. The next one is student engagement and voice. We want every student to play a personal and meaningful role in their own learning and in the educational decisions for their school, district, and community. And we're doing this in a variety of ways. One is we do have different advisory committees, including a student advisory committee that I'm going to be starting, where they can work to give me input on a variety of topics over the course of the year. We are going to have seats for students on our district task forces. I'm training my senior leadership team on how to do Twitter chats so we can start to engage with more students and families on social media and be available to answer questions and to get feedback and ask them questions about things. We also are excited that we're trying to connect them with more opportunities to make school meaningful. So some of the great arts opportunities that our partners have helped us provide are things like El Sistema, which the picture on the top is from there. We've got this really great ballroom dancing program going on in many of our schools, so that middle picture is from there. We've got A+, Oklahoma A+ from UCO that's happening in many of our schools. And Black Ink is also supporting us with arts training through the Kennedy Center. We also have lots of athletic opportunities for students, and so Fields and Futures has just been an amazing partner to help us fix up our fields, get really, really amazing athletic fields that our kids are excited and want to play and practice on. We've got the Police Athletic League, who's helping to get sports into our elementary schools that normally wouldn't have them, so kids have something exciting and positive to do after school. And Cleats for Kids that's helping to get us athletic equipment, because during such a tough budget time, we really rely on our partners to help us get things to make sure kids still have a great educational experience in our district. And also field trip opportunities for students. You know, we're trying to give them ways to engage, have fun, learn about their community, and we've got two great things that are happening this year. One is we're going to be sending all of our 9th graders to go see the Oklahoma City National Memorial Museum. And we're also going to be sending our 5th graders to go to see the Oklahoma Contemporary Arts Center, thanks to the Kirkpatrick Family Foundation, OG&E and AT&T, who are going to pay for transportation for our kids to some of those museums, and the city of Oklahoma City that has actually been talking with us around kids being able to ride buses on their field trips for free if the field trip place happens to be near a bus stop. Mastery of core subjects. Every student will meet the standards of performance in core subjects at key transition grade levels. So we've got our schools that are setting goals and tracking progress over the next 5 years for how we're going to improve literacy, math, and science. Some of the things that we're doing, we've got this really great OKC Compact group that's made up of the foundation, the city, the Chamber of Commerce, United Way, and we are working on launching a new initiative called Read OKC. Yesterday, that's a picture of me from Wilson Elementary, where I was filming a commercial with a special celebrity guest that I'm not going to mention, but we are about to launch a big campaign trying to see how we can get all kids across our city reading more. Myon Reader is something that we've launched for all of our elementary kids this year. This program is so awesome because it's essentially like Netflix for books. So kids get on there, they do a quick reading level assessment and also an interest inventory, and it basically gives kids, when they log onto the system, because you like books about zombies, here's 10 other books about zombies that you are going to love. And, it's everything that kids are really, really interested in. And what's really great is I've been out and seen kids using this. And even for kids who normally don't love to read, this has found ways that they have been able to connect with it, find things that they're excited about. We just purchased it for every elementary kid in our system, where they will have access to 10,000 books online, which can be downloaded from any device, like your mom's phone, or they can use it at the library or McDonald's, a home computer. Even if you don't have a computer, we're piloting ways for them to be able to get access, because we just want kids to read more out of school. Also, if you have wireless, that's really great because you can just download any books that you want to anytime you want. But one of the things that we were worried about is our families who don't have access to wireless at their house. And this is where Cox has been really, really wonderful and generous to talk to us about being able to offer wireless to our low-income families for only $10 a month. And so what we're doing is trying to tell people about these opportunities, because we want to make sure every kid in our city has access to whatever books they want so they can read all the time, find things that they love, and we are just so excited about this moving forward. We are also implementing new academic standards. Our state adopted some new standards, which we love because they're more rigorous than the standards from before. So we've been really busy training our teachers in how to implement them, and also just providing more teacher support. We're implementing a teacher instructional coach model where there's a coach at every single school. And this is especially important for new teachers in our system, because before they didn't necessarily get as much support as they needed. We only had 11 schools that had a new teacher support coach. And so if you were a new teacher at a different school, you might not have gotten a lot of coaching. This year, we've found a different way to fund this model where we can have a coach at every school so that every new teacher is going to get the support they need. We're also working on accelerating performance for underperforming groups. We have some low-performing student groups that we want to perform at a level that closes the opportunity, learning, and achievement gaps. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we've just put a call to action for anyone who wants to join our Northeast Task Force. And this is a group that will, over the course of September through December, look at high-performing, high-poverty schools from across the country, do some site visits, make a set of recommendations about what we think it'll take to improve our schools in Northeast Oklahoma City in terms of school structure and options, academic supports, and wraparound service and supports. What's so exciting to me is we announced that we are taking applications for this committee last Saturday. By Monday morning, we had 106 people sign up to be on this committee, only 20 spots, and the number is just continuing to grow. This shows me that people in this city are so committed and want to be part of the solution and want to be part of the change in transforming public education for our kids in this city. We also are working on making sure more kids are having access to higher level courses of study outside the core subjects and even in the core subjects. One thing is we've joined with CoSTEMA, which is the Central Oklahoma STEM Alliance. And this is a partnership of STEM groups from across the Oklahoma City metro area that are working together to figure out how do we get kids access and opportunities in more STEM fields to make sure that we're preparing more graduates to go on and be able to take jobs in our city. One of my big things that makes me so angry or frustrated about our city is that we don't even have rigorous advanced STEM offerings at all of our high schools. One of the things that I know I've learned recently that I'm definitely going to change within the next 5 years is that we don't have physics offered at any of our comprehensive high schools right now. And that, to me, should be a basic that every school has. I mean, we should have even more science and engineering courses and advanced math, but to not even have the basics is pretty shocking. And so over the next 5 years with CoSTEMA, you're going to see us really work to improve those STEM offerings. We also have some really great advanced course offerings through places like OCCC and UCO, where kids are able to take college classes and earn both high school credit and college credit. When I went to the graduation at Northeast High School, and this is one of our graduates from Northeast, she graduated valedictorian, and she actually was graduating with 34 college credits at the same time. This is a really amazing opportunity, and we want to be able to share this with more kids so that even more kids can take advantage of that going into college. Next, and our final big area is high school graduation. We want every student to graduate from high school prepared for success in college and career technical fields. And so some of the things that we're doing to work on that is we've been putting ACT and SAT prep courses in our schools so that students can be more prepared and when they take those exams, increasing our CTE offerings, that's career and technical education, so that more kids can have access to advanced technical courses in case they're choosing not to go to college but want a really great job in a other type of career field. And we're also increasing our investment in AVID, which stands for Achievement via Individual Determination. And this is a really great program that puts the supports in place for kids, gets them extra tutoring while they're in advanced courses to make sure that they're going to be successful. So you might be wondering, okay, so where do we come in and how can we help contribute? There are a couple big things that I think all of you can do to help support us. Number one, we've got something called Partners in Action, and this is a program where schools are putting their needs that they cannot afford currently onto like little cards and letting you know what they need in terms of tutors and volunteers, donations, specific things that they need funded, and every school has got a little list. And so if you have a school that you are really interested in or care about, you should go and find out what is it exactly that they need and how can you help them in whatever way you're able to contribute. Donors Choose is a very similar type of thing except for teachers. And so we did just really cut deeply our school budgets for supplies. And so there are things that our teachers need in their classrooms right now that they just can't afford. And what they do is they go on Donors Choose and put a little project up, and you see a picture of their class and what they need, and you can make a $10 or $25 donation to help them get the things that they need for their classroom. And what's been really great is we've had some really wonderful sponsors who've stepped up and agreed to match the funds that anyone else will donate to Donors Choose. Sonic made a huge donation. Love's Travel Stop made a huge donation in matching funds. So that means your money, when you go on to donate, will be doubled to help that teacher get to their goal faster. We're also trying to raise money right now for Coda Kid, which will make sure that every student will have a coat and a pair of gloves and a hat this winter. It's an unfortunate reality in our district that not every child has access to a coat that fits them. And so we want to make sure that before the weather gets cold, that this is not a problem for any of our students. And so we're taking donations if you can afford to help us buy some extra coats. And then long term, I would just encourage everyone to register to vote, to educate yourself about any education-related things that are coming onto the ballots. and to figure out how are we long-term going to make changes to education funding in our state, because we cannot continue to be on a roller coaster where education funding is simply tied to oil and gas, and where every few years the bottom falls out and we're having to slash our budgets. Our kids deserve stable funding, and so do our teachers. And so, thank you. So I just quickly want to show a couple pictures. This is a great picture from Donors Choose. Basically, when the teachers put their projects, and once it finally gets funded, they come to the school and it comes in a box. And so we had a great press conference with Love's Travel Stop, who had made their donation. And this is a teacher who's actually getting her box, and the kids are there while she's opening it to see what they got for their classroom. Here's a picture of like the kind of things that we've got on Partners in Action. We had a little event on the south side in the Capitol Hill area where we had the Capitol Hill schools come up, and they put what they need on these little cards, and people can come sign up. And some of the needs are things like tutors or volunteers, or some money for some safety goggles for science equipment. This is one of the big ones that I've seen, but they're trying to get a mariachi program at Scheidler, and so they're asking for any donations that people can donate. And so these are just really great ways for people to be able to help like local neighborhood schools. And finally, I just want to close with a quote from one of our high school graduates from last year. This is Nate Bullock, who graduated from Northwest Classen High School. And he talked in his graduation speech about overcoming obstacles to reach your goals. And what he said, and I think this really resonated with me because this is how I feel as the leader of this school district, it's that we are not underdogs, we are overcomers. So we may have the odds stacked against us right now in Oklahoma City, but we're up for this challenge, and we are determined to succeed. And we're going to overcome these tough times. We're going to emerge from this budget crisis smarter and more resourceful. And 5 years from now, this is going to be the district that this whole nation is watching. And with your support, we are going to make the impossible happen for the children of Oklahoma City. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to happen. So I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be the new leader of Oklahoma City Public Schools. Thank you to your commitment to support of our district. And most of all, thank you for your commitment and love and caring and support for the children of Oklahoma City. Thank you.
For the school board members in the room, please go back and tell your peers, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think there is not a person in this room that has a question that you hired exactly the right person for this critical job at this point in time. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And she's leaving. She's not even going to stay for lunch. She's got work to do. Please enjoy your lunch. We will be back with you in just a few moments.